Welcome to our podcast, Tell Us a Story, a laid-back place where people come in to share their gift of gab and tell us their most interesting true life stories while we talk about different topics from all over the world. I'm Babu.
I'm Frenchie.
And on today's episode, we have here in the studio Mr. Randy Orgeron.
Orgeron.
Ah, that's the French connection
En
for
français.
us.
Ooh.
Did you like that, Randy?
Oh, I have yes, very much.
Well, welcome to the show. Yeah.
Good job.
No, all right.
Randy is a local figure in our community. We are excited to have him here in the studio as one of our very
Yes,
special
indeed.
guests.
Calm down.
Yeah. We are looking forward. You can tell the fun started already, and I haven't even finished my
It's a
spiel.
party.
We are looking forward, believe it or not, to hearing about what makes him tick. And also what interesting and exciting stories he is bringing to the show. I'll let Frenchie tell you a little more about him before we hand it off to Randy. Frenchie?
Yes. Hey, Randy.
Hey, boo.
Nice to have you.
Thank you. Nice to be had.
Randy is a lover of life, as you can hear already,
Yes.
of art and all things 40s. He's a kindred spirit. I call him my Jiminy Cricket because he always takes the high road and stays level-headed no matter what. He has a deep love for animals and plants. He's funny. He's witty. He loves great food and music of all genres, and more specifically, classical. He's unpretentious, and he's a true force of nature. Oh, yeah.
What do you think about that, Randy? A force of nature.
Yes, he is.
Is this guy single? I mean, damn.
You want to meet
I
him?
do want to meet him.
Which force of nature are you, Randy?
Let's talk about it.
Yes, let's talk about it.
Okay, how about we get right into it and start with your first question. So let me ask you, I heard that you are an art reproductionist. For those of us that may not know what that is, can you enlighten us?
Yeah, sure. So, art reproductionist is a term that I coined. It's not on Google.
Because you're fancy like that.
Yeah, you don't know the half of it. So essentially, I take original artwork of my clients who don't want to paint the same thing over and over again, and create a digital copy, which comes into the computer. And with the magic of Photoshop, I make it look like the original, so that when it's output to canvas or art papers, it looks just like their original painting, which then they sell to the public.
As prints.
Yeah,
So
as
basically,
prints.
that's what you do.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about, I've probably been doing this for going on 20 some odd years, and it was one of those freakish things where a friend of mine who retired to paint, he was an artist as an avocation up to a point in his life, and his work was popular, and he knew that I knew something of computers, having started back in the DOS
Turns out
era.
you're a techie?
Yeah, well, I'm a button pusher.
Well,
Yes, indeed. So he says, Randy, can you do anything with like making prints for people so I don't have to keep repainting the same, which is boring for an artist. I mean, you know,
well,
they're
not just
great.
that, but it doesn't make it special
Correct.
anymore, right?
You're right. So I don't know. I just got a camera and got scanners and just sort of messed around with it, and was like, wow. So I started making the prints for him, and then people are like, hey, who's making your prints? So that's just started this real niche kind of business.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So we ended up with, I have a worldwide client base, which is really crazy for being in little Thibodeauville.
So you're Randy, the art reproductionist extraordinaire, international.
Yes, I am
Damn.
that.
Going international.
Going international.
That's all.
So this is it. We just crossed the up the bayou barrier.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So it's I have a client in Africa who lives on a game reserve, and so
my God.
she has shows in New York City. So once a year, she sends me canvases all rolled up. I make them digital. Then I send them off to New York for her shows, and then I make reproductions and
That is
send back to
wild.
South Africa. So it's just one of the crazy things. Like,
Yeah, that's
who knew?
awesome. That's really neat.
I just love hearing about these unique jobs. You know, you're not a plumber, you're not a carpenter.
Right.
You know, these unique jobs that
Not
is
bashing
such-
on plumbers and carpenters.
No,
by
not
the
at
way.
all.
I need
Not
them.
at all.
I utilize
But
them all.
it's just that we hear about these vocations all the time,
Yeah.
and to hear about something like this
Right.
is really
Point
cool.
taken. It's really
Yeah,
a freaky
awesome.
thing.
And the way it just came about too. It's almost
Yeah.
accidental.
Right. It was. I was not. That's not where my life direction
Yeah,
was
no,
going.
exactly.
You know? Like, okay.
So we said in the intro that you love music and
Mm-hmm.
the arts. What's your earliest connection to music?
So that would be choral music, the first art, art of the voice. So I was taken into a church as a child, and
So we're going way back.
way back
To how old?
probably 5 or 6. I want to
Aw.
say. Precious child.
Little wee Randy.
Wee. Oh, little wee. Oh, just, I mean, yeah. Gerber baby. So,
I'll believe it.
little Lord Fauntleroy, huh? But how do you say that? Terrible enfant? L'enfant
L'enfant terrible.
Yeah, that was more the truth of it. So I'm
That's
I'm
for the next podcast.
the really. That's the other side of me.
Yes.
I go into this church, and so there's a choir and a choir loft I knew nothing about, so I couldn't see them, and all my sensories were telling me that this music, this organ and this choir was just, I don't know, just falling over me. It was, and I had no idea where it was coming from.
Just
which made,
enthralling.
yes, which made the experience even more ethereal and mysterious, and it just connected, like my soul came alive.
Aw.
Right? It just ignited, and from that point on, I knew that regardless of the look of it, music was going to be part of the
you.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so let me ask you, what did you most want to be when you were growing up?
Well, it had to do with music. I wanted to be a ballet dancer, and I did actually pursue some dance as a grown up person.
Ooh.
Awesome.
Physicality, the costuming, the
I
symphonic
knew we had
music.
so much in common.
Yeah. Oh,
I was a dancer for 19 years, so
were you really? Get out! This I did not know.
how about that?
Wow.
We learn about all types of things on this
It's
show.
amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So that and vocal music, to be a singer. When I was a child, on Saturday nights, I'd sit with my grandfather as he shot his anisette, and we'd watch Lawrence Welk.
Lawrence Welk.
Lawrence
Oh,
Welk.
that's the name of the path.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So I desperately wanted to be on the Lawrence Welk show. That was like
That is
my
funny.
whole life.
That's what I want to be when I grow
I
up.
want to be on the Lawrence Welk show.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, by the time I grew up, Lawrence Welk wasn't Lawrence Welk anymore.
Yeah.
But it fueled a desire to sing, and so I did that. I not be on the Lawrence Welk show, but I sang. So I learned to
Just
play.
lie.
Yeah, right. I played
did
the
it.
organ in church. I learned to play the organ. I was in choir. My high school didn't have a choir, but a friend of mine would pretend that he was my private voice instructor so that I could like be in the all-state choruses and things,
Right.
which is really cool. And then ended up studying opera.
Opera.
In college.
That is
yeah.
wild.
Yeah. I
That's
don't know how I made it to opera,
I see.
but I knew that I wanted to be trained classically.
Right.
You know, it's like when you dance, you first have to learn all those fabulous basics, and then you go off
Right.
and do jazz, right? So I knew that if I could learn to sing in the most proper way, that I could take it anywhere I wanted.
Okay, you know what this means, Randy.
Oh,
We're going to have to ask you to give
yeah.
us a little sample. You don't come in here talking about opera and not be able to give us
I'm
a
a
sample.
singer.
let me set this up. First, apologies to your listeners.
And for the next
I have
video
not-
podcast, you
I know.
will do some dancing.
Yes, in major costume.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I have not sung in years, and you, as a musician, understand that if you don't practice, you lose it. But what the heck? Reggie loves my singing, so it's my dog, Reggie. The dog has to be interjected always, right? Okay, so 1960s, Rodgers and Hammerstein wrote Cinderella specifically for one of the major TV studios, right? And so that's my go-to musical. And the fun part about being a 1960s kid is that we didn't have streaming, so I couldn't just look up Cinderella and watch it every time I wanted to. We had to wait for the yearly.
I know.
It's like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and all those things, right?
I still have that, by the way.
Yeah. So I just would get God, Cinderella's coming on, right? Anyway, this is a song the Prince sings. Well, it's a duet, but he starts out when Cinderella comes into the ballroom. So, excuse me if I tear up because it's...
No.
All right. 10 minutes ago I saw you. I looked up when you came through the door. My head started reeling. You gave me the feeling the room had no ceiling or floor. 10 minutes ago I met you, and we murmured our how do you do's. I wanted to ring out the bells and fling out my arms and to sing out the news. I have found her, she's an angel, with the dust of the stars in her eyes. We are dancing, we are flying, and she's taking me back to the skies. In the arms of my love I'm flying over mountains and meadows and glens, and I'd like it so well that for all I can tell I may never come down again.
That was amazing.
Oh, not really, but anyway.
That's unbelievable.
Oh, you guys are...
You deserve it. You deserve it. Yeah, that was great.
I loved it. I feel like he was describing me.
I know.
An angel flying.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Smartest man alive, Babu. Thank you.
So you see, that's why I never made it to the Lawrence Welk show.
Oh, that was great.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was really nice.
So we're talking about your passions, and as we are talking about it, what are you most passionate about in life? Or better yet, what would be a free day for Mr. Randy?
Wow.
And I'm saying that because I know how busy of a man you are, but let's go there.
It would be tough for a day because I need a free 3 months. But
I know.
So
let's make it a 3 months.
Okay, a perfect day. Now this is let's say a longer than 24-hour day.
Okay.
Yeah.
It would involve nature first off. Lots of deep breathing with just sensory overload of the beauty of nature and the sounds of nature. And then
just peace.
Yeah, just peace. And then it'd have to involve something cultural. It could be even of a folk culture nature, simplistic,
right,
or as grand as the Beethoven Ninth, right?
Ooh, yeah.
And then it'd have to be topped off with deep, deep conversation with people of depth.
Yeah.
So there'd have to be that connection of nature, the connection of just the most inspired creativity, and then the human connection.
Always.
So that would be like my idea of a completely enriching 24-hour period.
Okay, let's say you have all of that, Randy. It's all there. You close your eyes. When you open your eyes, where are you?
To make all of that happen, I would be in, let's say, a natural amphitheater setting. In, let's say, Tanglewood, perhaps. It's the Tanglewood Shed. And there would be the Boston Symphony playing. And I would be with people who have been with me on the journey.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Like you said, the human connection, just sharing. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, on a different subject, you've been on a health journey.
Yeah.
That started a few years ago, correct?
Correct.
Can you tell us how, why?
Absolutely.
When?
Yes. So 4+ years ago, I had sort of a tectonic shift occur in my life. My business partner and friend of 38 years died unexpectedly. And he left behind a wife who was in the advanced stages of Lewy body's dementia, which is a hallucinatory form of Parkinson's, and a daughter with Downs, living with Down syndrome. And there was no family, and I'd always indicated to him that if anything would happen, I'd be there. So I ended up with with this lady and this special needs child now in my life who had to be immediately cared for.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I went into this 24/7 cortisol rush, fight or flight.
Yeah.
Just nonstop. It was absolutely diminishing my health.
Right.
The stress of all of that.
Yeah.
Of course.
And so I knew that I had to do something lest I end up in an early grave like my
Yeah.
friend. Because I think the stress of taking care of his wife and daughter ultimately is what did him in, so to speak. And so I was like, okay, Randy, they always say the caregiver has to take care of himself first,
Absolutely.
or themselves first. So
It sounds so cliche,
no,
but it's so true.
when you live it,
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then you can't.
This is
take
it, yeah.
care. So I ended up someone I had been following on Facebook, who was had just coincidentally opened a gym and was training people, and so I reached out to him, and I got started on that journey. And as most things that I take on in life, I absolutely go overboard. It's like I'm in it 100%, or I'm not in it at all.
Right.
So
Overachiever.
yeah,
much?
no, it wasn't much.
A+ student.
Annoying, okay? It's just annoying to be that
Oh,
way.
well.
I'll wear myself out, okay? So, so that propelled me. And the thing about exercise and the like and being nutritionally dense in your intake, it just changes everything about you. Physically, how you feel, where you are, your mental space.
I was going to say
Yeah.
it's not just a physical, it's
Oh,
mental,
goodness, yes.
it's
And
everything. Yeah.
Definitely. You get it all out on the weights
Yeah.
and whatever it is you're doing. So, so that started that. And it's just been a journey. I did have a little setback started this year, but I'm back at it. And
Well, first of all, wow, for stepping up and doing what you did, because I don't know many people who would do that.
and I get that all the time.
But it's true.
I don't know, and I appreciate where you're coming from. But for me, I'm one of these people, and I was reared that way. My father instilled that in me. When life hands you things, you put on your big boy drawers and you do it, right? There's
Well,
it's not
that's
a
true, but
question
not
for me.
everybody does
yes,
that. So
you're right.
awesome.
I've come to know that, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are these big boy drawers boxes or briefs? We're just
No,
asking for the
briefs.
audience.
Yes,
Yeah.
briefs.
Asking for a friend.
No, I don't mind a good pair of boxes occasionally. But
All right, so on a little change of note there,
Now, why is it-
we're going to talk
Should
about
I leave?
we're going to talk about one of the topics I like now, food. So food is everything, isn't it? So we're foodies here. So
Yeah.
do you have any favorites? Any dislikes?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I can't say that I've found the food that I don't like, and I'm adventurous when it comes to food.
Well, let me help you there. Jello.
No, with vodka in it, I'm good. Yeah, no,
All right.
I'll do a good vodka shot.
This may do something to our friendship.
That's it. I knew there was a flaw somewhere. We're gonna find it.
Frenchie and Randy are over.
Right? Well, it was fun though.
It was fun.
Food. I've had to learn in this Southern culture to. I've had to force people to mind their own plates. I know I just went off topic. There's no food that I say, "Ugh," and to be polite, I'll eat anything. Obviously the foods I rather over others. My one favorite food. Now,
Please don't
brace
say Jello.
yourselves. No. Sausage
Sausage.
of any kind. I know.
I have so many thoughts right now.
I know you do. You nasty. Anyway, of any kind. And here's the thing. So my body rejects it. Totally allergic to whatever all the wonderful spices in sausage. But it is the one food that, like, I totally crave and deny myself most of the time because I know what it's going to make me feel like. But
So is it all, or is it, you said spices, is it because of the spices?
I'm sure it's the spices
Oh,
and various
okay.
sausage. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So all good. But can we talk a second about Southern culture and food?
You can
Of
talk about
course.
anything you want here.
All right then.
This is an open place.
We may leave the
It's a
room,
safe
but you can
place.
talk about whatever. We may turn the machines off.
Keep on talking.
And this might be of interest to
Frenchie.
Karina, who yes, Frenchie, who with her her absolute love of nutrition and healthful eating and clean and organic and of the earth. So I have history of diabetes in my family to the point of amputee diabetics. So I've learned negative learning through the years, watching that come into play and how such a thing happens, how you get to that point.
I see what you're saying.
So I'm pretty adamant knowing that is one genetic that I can control about, because of all genetic testing that I've done, I'm always warned about the diabetes, and I'm like, yeah, well, no news there.
Right.
So I've had to learn, because we know how we here in the South, we tend to push food on people. And
you didn't like it? Third plate.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Come on, there's more.
Everything, Randy.
Yeah, right.
Fried Oreos.
Everything. It's insane. And so
is.
I watched this evolution of my own father, who ultimately died of diabetes, and people would push food on him. And then once he got to, his diabetes was so severe, they would then fuss him or admonish him about eating. And I'm like, you people, I don't believe you people. I mean, I can remember blowing up at some family function. I said, you are just beyond the pale.
Right.
You pushed food on this man all of his life, and now you want to take it all back.
It's not good for you.
Yeah, because I'm like, so anyway, so people have learned, because I've just had to be ugly about it, to respect my plate.
Right.
Now,
How do they call that? Food shaming or something? There's a term for that.
You know, it could well be. So all that to say that I control what goes in my mouth, and it's not that I don't eat well, because I eat extraordinarily well. In fact, probably too well. And it's not that I don't eat things that taste, explosive taste, right? But just knowing my body and knowing what I want to achieve with it, knowing what makes me feel good. Food. And it's, it's one of those things that it is a need. So it's always in front of us, and we always have to make decisions about it.
And to me, isn't it an equalizer? Everybody is at the same level when you're around a table. There's no social caste. There's no anything.
To have people at the table,
to share food and just conversation is the best.
We must talk about humanism.
Yes.
We're talking around people.
Yes. Should we get to that?
No, let's get to it.
All right.
I know I'm messing up with your...
yes, you're messing up. I'm literally going, well, which question is this?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's do it.
Okay.
So what is your definition of humanism, and how does it pertain to you?
Okay, so not a religious person. I don't ascribe to any religions or churches. But yet I have people tell me, well, you're more Christian-like than people I know who profess to be. And I said, well...
Because you're a caretaker?
Just in my general dealing with people. And so in explaining where that comes from, if I had to label when I don't like labels, I would say I was a secular humanist. What that simply means is that I act in an ethical and moral way towards my fellow human beings, not under a religion or a religious philosophy or a church. So I just act in this way because, to my way of thinking, it's the way we should act towards each other. And I don't knock religion. I don't knock people's faith or beliefs. But for myself personally, I don't need a God telling me how to behave properly towards my fellow human beings. So that's the simplicity of it. And for me, church, and if there is a God, to me, he exists within those conversational moments between one another and the acts of kindness. You know, I this Downs person that I care for, sometimes I take care of her most basic needs.
Right.
And that just as humbling as it can be, to take care of a person's most basic needs.
Right.
And I'm like, well, if there's a God, he's certainly here, you know.
Don't make me cry.
Yeah, saying that this is... So, yeah, I'm all about human connection. It's kind of my...
That's awesome.
If you cry, I cry, so
Okay,
don't.
yeah, not to cry easily.
Okay,
so.
don't look at Randy.
Well, I think it's as simple as quoting Bill and Ted. Believe it or not, be good to each other.
Is it that simple?
Right?
The golden rule, right?
And I think if everybody followed that one rule,
Would we need anything else?
everything would be great.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
I'm with you. No.
Well, I'm just going to say I'm definitely sitting next to two of the nicest and kindest people that I know.
Yeah.
Don't cry.
But we're not going to
it's
say the
true.
same thing about you. But if that's what you're looking for, That ain't coming, sister. But we appreciate it.
Still love you.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna take a little left turn. I've heard that you have a deep love for animals. Can you tell us a little bit more about your passion for them?
What's up with that? Okay, so animals.
Who takes care of whom?
Yes, that people will say that, right? Who saved who? They have such a animals. They give you they are true to self, and what they present to you is absolutely the most honest thing.
No gimmicks.
No filter.
Nothing.
Yeah.
They have to be what nature gave them to be, right?
Right.
Yep.
So I'll take like my dog as an example.
You mean the king?
The king, Sir Reginald himself. My mom always had cats and dogs in the house, hamsters, all the things, right? But they were hers. I mean, they were in the house, but, mama took care of those.
Right.
Well, as an adult, I always wanted to have a dog, but I wanted it to be on my own terms. I wanted to know that I could be with the dog, not go off to work for 8 hours. And so when I started my art reproduction business, which ended up being out of a home studio, then it was like, okay, it's time to get a dog. And it's great that people have dogs. If they leave them for the day, I get it, but better that they have homes. I'm not, but just for me, was how I wanted it.
Right.
So on one of my birthdays 10 years ago, a friend of mine gave me a choice. He would either get me a goldfish or a dog. So it's like, in hindsight, I made the wrong choice. But anyway.
Do you want a lollipop or a filet mignon?
That's a hell of a choice.
I know.
So it's like, so in comes Reggie. And the thing that Reggie has taught me is that
You can be abused. And
yes, right?
toxic relationship.
God. Follow me on Facebook to learn all about Reggie, right?
I know.
Reggie sees me as something that I don't think I am. So seeing what he sees in me, I'm trying to be that person. Honestly, that this dog inspires me to try to be my best self, because I'm like, dude, I don't know what you see in me, but I can promise, right? But I'm like, okay, I'll run with that. All right. So be the person your dog thinks you are. Okay. He's so.
I can honestly say I've never heard that sentence, but I love it.
He's vulnerable. Those eyes are so sentient and alive and honest, and I know that I am his whole life, and that he relies on me. So it teaches, like, I need to be taught responsibility, but caring for someone who or something that couldn't for themselves. And had I not come along and rescued him, he was not a good situation he came out of, as is often the case. So that translates into elephants and dolphins and.
You want an elephant next?
I'd love an elephant.
I would love that.
Cats have now become my next obsession,
man.
and that happened by accident. But the animals. Ooh. Yeah. So.
That is amazing.
And it's a true love. They bond with you, and
Yeah.
you can't tell them otherwise. It's so fascinating.
No, that's true. Like you said, no gimmicks, just pure love.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you. What is the best advice you've ever been given in life?
Okay.
And go.
All right. We make excuses to not do.
True.
So someone once said to me that excuses were just reasons that only gets us more of the same in terms of behavior, right? So we make all the excuses in the book. We're never going to change the behavior. Well, I couldn't possibly because of this, and this. So we stay in that rut. We stay in a place we don't want to be. So if we can get rid of the excuses, and which will allow us to say, okay, enough of the excuses. What proactively can I do to make this or that other thing happen that I want to have happen, that I want to prioritize to make happen? And it's funny, it can just be small adjustments. Right? And
it's the little
bam,
things.
before you know. So that's probably the best advice I can give people. Stop with the excuses. And if you really can't, then leave it alone.
Yep.
Just be quiet.
Yeah, don't keep telling me, oh, I wish I could. I wish it'd be. Like, No, you don't. Because if
But
you
I'm
really
tired.
did, yeah, well. Yeah, that's
If only we had a
yeah.
video.
I know, that gesture, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, people. You can't see him.
So Randy, tell me, what would you like people to know and remember most about you?
The one thing that would make me most gratified post this life would be if people just said he was such a nice guy.
Well, we're going to say that as soon as you walk out
Yeah.
the door.
He's
That's
just such
a
a nice
done
guy.
deal.
I mean, I don't know.
And
that's
honestly, I
simple.
think a lot of people think that about you. How can they not?
Well, it's true.
Right?
I mean, come on.
What do they say? You gotta love yourself first. So that
Exactly.
you're doing a great
there might
job.
be a bit of an ego there.
That's great.
That would be the thing.
Okay, well, now the moment we've all been waiting for. Drum roll. Brrrr. How's the drum roll? Is that good?
Yes, perfect.
I've been working on it.
Tell us a story.
Okay. So I knew this was
We
coming.
may regret that.
So this is I was trying to think of a story that, for whatever reason, has stayed with me, like a personal experience that I had, and it's kind of weird coming from me because I'm not one to ascribe to this sort of thing. But so I had a cousin who died or was killed in the Vietnam War.
Okay.
And I was, I don't know, maybe 8 at the time. And I want to say it was my first experience with death.
Okay.
Okay. And so for days leading up to his funeral service, weeks, I guess, actually, there was
How old was he?
Philip would have been 18 or 19.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Baby.
Yeah. Truly. Mm-hmm. And so I was hearing all these stories about, well, just to be blunt, the condition of his body, because it was a messy death.
Yeah.
And all that was going to have to be done so that he could be viewed at the coffin, all this kind of
Oh
stuff. And of
my
course,
God.
as an 8-year-old, it's like,
Yeah.
my head is going everywhere.
Yeah, you don't even know what to
Wow,
what
what
to
to make
imagine.
of all that.
Mm-hmm.
So every nightmarish scenario, okay. Well, so the night before the funeral, I'm in my room in bed, just so unsettled about all of this, right? And Philip appears.
Oh, wow.
Philip appears as
Wow.
as tangible.
As can be.
Yes. So as an 8-year-old, I can't reckon with that. You know, I'm not at that point understanding the magnificence of the mind and what it can conjure. So in my 8-year-old brain, Philip is there.
I just
Right.
got goosebumps, Randy. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
It's chilling. Yeah.
And in my mind, it was Philip's way of saying, it's okay. Excuse me.
No,
Yeah,
it's
take your
okay.
time.
But he came to me in perfect physical form,
Right.
not in what I had imagined he might look like
Right.
in his death state. So it instead of frightening me, it gave me this absolute peace.
Just comfort.
Yeah. I did not go to the funeral because my grandfather, who was, this was his nephew, was very, very close to this boy and was so torn up by the event that he himself couldn't bring himself to go to the funeral and make that final farewell. So I stayed home with my grandfather.
Oh.
And so it was a bonding moment for he and I.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Because for different reasons, it was just more than we could handle, you know?
Right.
So to this day,
I mean, the emotions, I think we can feel them.
it changed my whole feelings about death and all the things, right?
Right.
And how whatever energies we as people create, even if it's just on a level of physics, I think it's very real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Didn't mean to bring it down.
No.
No, you did. This is the
Come on,
kind
tell
of
us a
thing
funny
that
story.
this gives us an insight to who you are. So this is what we want to do here with the podcast. Well, this was all great, Randy. We loved hearing and learning more about you today. We'd like to thank you once again for joining us here in the studio and
pleasure.
being a part of our podcast.
Who knew? I didn't think I was that interesting. There you go.
Thank you for being so gracious and candid about everything. And
Hey.
you didn't bring it down. It was nice to see true
Yeah.
emotion. So thank you for that.
You're more than welcome. I think this is a wonderful thing you're doing. All of us have stories.
Yeah.
They're so interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We love it.
Which makes me say my next thing.
Oh, gosh.
Remember, those who don't believe in magic will never find it. We all have stories to tell. What's yours? Bye now.
In French,
Au revoir.
in Spanish,
Hasta luego.
in German,
Auf Wiedersehen.
in Italian.
Ciao.
Bye, guys. Take care.